Alright, good evening. I'm out here in the shop tonight, and I've been wanting to start a new series. I've just been a little bit under the weather for a couple of days, so I'm going to get started tonight, and we're going to do a kind of a how-to or how I do reloading on 380 ACP. So I have a reloading press. I reload my own ammo, and I just started loading a new caliber for me, and that's 380. Typically I reload other calibers, but now that my concealed carry pistol is 380 ACP, I've been reloading a little bit for it, and I figured why not share a step-by-step process of how I load the 380. So I'm going to do this in multiple videos because I feel like I want to share some tips along the way and not just condense the reloading process all down into 3 or 4 minutes. I don't think that does anybody any good. So there'll be long videos, there'll be multi videos per caliber. I'm going to start with 380, and I might go on to other calibers after this. Let me know if you're interested. 9mm, 223, I do 38 special, 357 Magnum, and 30-30. So off we go. First step on this process is to prepare your brass, and I'm going to assume that you already have reloading equipment, you already know how to use it, you already have a complete reloading setup, and you've already sourced all of your components. So the first thing you would do is prepare your brass, and with 380 it's very simple. There's no military 380 brass that I'm aware of, so there's no crimped primers in 380, at least none that I've run across. So you don't need to trim 380 brass. It's not a high pressure enough load to stretch the brass that to matter. I mean, it might stretch 1,000th or less, but let's be honest here, there's no need to trim it. You just pick it up and you clean it and you load it. So that's what we're going to do. I've already got my brass here. I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process of how I do it, the parts I use, the tumbler, the media, a couple of tricks that I've learned along the way, and we'll go from there. I use a rotary tumbler to clean my brass, and it works pretty good. There's various manufacturers of tumblers. They all seem to work pretty well except the real cheap ones. I have a Cabela's model 400 tumbler. Works pretty well. Actually, a friend of mine has a Lyman. It works even better, and I'm sure there's other ones that are even better than the Lyman, such as Dillon and maybe even Hornady, but doubtful there. But anyways, this is the tumbler I use. Again, it's just a shaker that you put media inside to tumble the brass. For media, there's really two different kinds of media that makes good brass cleaning media. One would be corn cob, and the second would be crushed walnut. Typically your tumblers will come with a little bag of corn cob, and the corn cob does a great job of cleaning and polishing. However, it's really better for polishing more than it is for cleaning. And then the walnut is better for cleaning, but it doesn't do as well in polishing. And from my experience, you don't care what it, that it looks glass-like brass finish. You just want it to be clean and somewhat polished, and I find that the walnut does the best job for that. Also, a tip that I can pass along is if you go to a reloading store and pick up tumbling media, it's marked up 2 to 3 times what it really should cost, just because it's reloading specific branding. The best way I've found to find some really inexpensive tumbling media is to either pick this stuff up on Amazon, or go to a pet store such as PetSmart or Petco, and what you're looking for is lizard bedding. For people who have lizards at their homes, They use this crushed walnut bedding in the bottom of the cage. So I picked this Zilla Desert Blend media up on Amazon, and again, it's ground English walnut shells, and it works perfectly, and you spend a whole lot less money buying this stuff than you would going to a reloading specific store and picking up tumbling media. Another tip that I've used, and it works really well, and I really recommend it, is to pick up a bottle of this New Finish car polish. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this stuff on your car, but it works great in the tumbler for a couple of reasons. A couple of capfuls in a tumbler knocks the dust down, and it also provides a polishing agent for the brass while it's in the tumbler. So again, you just pour a couple of capfuls of this in when you start tumbling, and call it a day. And the stuff works really good, and again, it's inexpensive. You can pick it up at the auto parts store, or I'll leave a link in the description where you can pick that up on Amazon as well. So that's really all you need to get started. Again, you need a tumbler, you need some tumbling media, you need a polishing agent, and then of course you need some brass, which I just so happen to have quite a bit here. So let's get started, and I'll kind of show you how I do it, and we'll get the tumbler started. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is get your media into the tumbler. I just use a bucket. Get that in there. You want to fill it about halfway, maybe 2/3. You can see that there. Get your media in there, and want to pass along another tip as well. These dryer sheets, after they're used in your dryer to keep your clothes soft and static free, save those up. And what you want to do is rip these things into like half or quarters. I generally rip one into quarters like that and get 4 pieces. Put it in the tumbler, and that'll help cut down on the dust as well. Plus, you're not spending any money on used dryer sheets. So next thing you want to do is get your car polish, your New Finish, shake it up. I'm going to put 2 capfuls in there. So it's kind of soupy stuff. Get that in there. So the next thing you want to do is you don't want to add your brass yet. You want to get this polishing, car polish kind of mixed around in your tumbler before you go adding brass in there, because it'll coat the brass and you'll have a big clumpy mess if you don't run it for just a few minutes. So what I recommend doing is just put your lid back on your tumbler, and then run the tumbler for about 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes at most, to get that polish mixed around real good, and before you add your brass. So I'll take a pause here. We'll get the tumbler started, and I'll check back in just a couple of minutes. Okay, we're back. So once you get that mixed around a little bit, probably let it go about 2 minutes. Get your lid off. You'll smell that car polish a little bit. You want to reach in, get you a bunch of brass. So in my case, I got this little container here, probably a couple hundred pieces of brass, depending on how much you want to run. You can't underfill this thing, but you can overfill it. So typically what you want to do is cover the top, and then you don't want it overfilling the tumbler, obviously. But you want a good, probably 2-inch or inch layer of brass in there. That's probably a couple 150 pieces. 380 is pretty small, so it doesn't take a whole lot to get a good loading session. So that's probably enough. That's all I plan to load. So get your top back on. Actually, I'll leave the top off and get it started and kind of show you what it looks like. Alright, so here's the tumbler. You see, got quite a bit of brass in here. I could probably put double that if I really wanted to push it, but I don't plan on loading a whole bunch in this next session. So turn it on. See how it starts mixing together. And what you want to see is that brass moving from underneath over the top and then back down into the center. So you can see it's moving pretty well. Put your lid on. Off it goes. So let me stop it just so you can hear me talk for a minute. So what you want to do now is let it tumble for about an hour. You can go as short as 30 minutes. You can go as long as all night if you want to. Let it run all night if you want to. I don't think it's necessary. I usually get a little bit lazy. I'll turn it on and I'll check back in an hour, or I might check back in 2 hours. But I just let it go and kind of forget about it and go get involved in another project or hang out in the house or whatever. Then just let it go, and then when I come back it's done. So through the magic of editing, we'll let this go for a while, and I'll come back and show you how it finishes up. Alright, we're back. So it's been about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I lost track. Again, there's no magic number for how long this tumbling process needs to take, but I can look in there and see the brass is clean, and it's actually very, very shiny polished. So my recipe is good. So what you do next is you want to take the brass out, and you want to strain it somehow. So the Lyman tumbler that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I believe actually has a strainer as part of its lid. So you just take, when you're done, you just take it and dump it upside down into a bucket, and the media comes out and the brass stays in. With my tumbler, it actually came with a strainer. It was part of the kit. So this strainer fits on top of a 5-gallon bucket, and then you just pour the tumbler, all the media and brass through the strainer, and the media falls through and the brass stays behind. So probably won't be very good. Well, let me see if I can. Alright, that kind of works. So again, just pour it out. You can see all the brass and media. Just shake it around. And get the dryer sheets out. And the brass is going to be full of media, so you got to agitate all the brass around. that's all there is to it. So what you end up with is some very, very shiny, clean brass. And it's ready to load. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up this episode of how to load 380. You get the brass clean and you're complete with step one. You're ready to take that brass and now put it in the machine and start the loading process. So I'll go on to the next step in a different video, and I might make 2 or 3 more videos in this series, but not sure yet. But just to recap, you need a tumbler, you need some tumbling media. I recommend crushed walnut. Again, the Zilla Desert Blend from either Amazon or your local Petco or PetSmart store. And then you need some kind of polishing agent. You don't have to have that, but I do recommend it. This brass is really, really, really nicely polished, and that's just as good as corn cob, to be honest. I mean, that's excellent clean. So I use New Finish. You can pick that up on Amazon or at Walmart or your local hardware or auto parts store, probably not hardware store. And then your tumbler should come with some means to strain out the media, whether it's incorporated into the lid or it comes with a separate strainer, or you can go to the Walmart and pick up a colander that you might use in your kitchen, just as long as the holes aren't too large that the brass goes through. You want it to catch the brass and let the media fall through. But I will link in the description below to the Lyman tumbler, because I believe it's a better tumbler than what I showed you today. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it has a integrated strainer in the lid. So again, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate if you hit that like button, and if you like the content I'm creating, hit that subscribe button. There's more coming. I'll finish the 380 series, probably move on to other calibers, and then maybe I'll go dive in deep on the actual workings of the machine and how to set the machine up. That could be a lengthy series in itself, but we'll stay focused here on 380 and we'll get that done, and talk at you next time. Thanks.